What's up, boopers, and welcome to my Black Desert Online guide to Berserkers, also known as Giants, and in my case, also known as Sexy Beast. But look, my Sork and Warrior are level 50, so you can expect all the guides to be coming soon. Yay! For now, let's get started with Sexy Beast. Boop. In Black Desert Online, Berserkers are a large tanky melee class that wield axes in their main hand and use ornament knots in their offhand. For resources, they use stamina and something I will just call Rage because it follows similar mechanics to Warrior's Rage system in World of Warcraft. Nearly all of your attacks will generate Rage. For their basic attacks, we've got Elastic Force. Ranking this up will increase its damage, accuracy, and range. The longer you strike with your basic attack, the more damage it will do. And in addition, if you press W while holding left mouse button, you will advance forward at the cost of stamina to deal even more damage. And Giant is one of the few classes where maxing the basic attack is actually a good idea. The skill also governs the damage of left clicking while pressing your A and D keys to swing while strafing. Now let's start by going into mobility. And this guy's got a lot despite his size, though most of it is in the form of gap closers. Holding Shift and A or D keys will slide you in a direction at the cost of stamina. Max rank allows this to be used after several skills, however it cannot be used to go forward or backward directly. Next we've got Headbutt. Now this skill is technically not a mobility skill, but if you combo it with the max rank evasion it can be used as such, and this skill can be cast in two ways. Holding W and right clicking will dash you forward at enemies to headbutt them, knocking them down and dealing damage. If you instead hold Shift and right mouse button, you will no longer lunge forward but instead charge up your headbutt to deal more damage. The final skill in Headbutt allows you to headbutt out of evasion, meaning you can evade, headbutt, evade in a single motion. Next, let's take a look at Tackling and Falling Rock. Tackling Rock is a forward charge cast by holding W and F. You can charge it up or release it instantly to charge forward, but it isn't as quick as mobility as Headbutt evasion. The upside is higher charging is more damage, and if you hit your target you will slow them by 30% at max rank. A fully charged tackle will knock back. Falling Rock is cast by sprinting, jumping, and then pressing the left mouse button to jump forward and stun enemies. A much better form of mobility and CC than tackling, but because of the conditions to cast it, I find it easier to just put this on your skill bar. Higher ranks will increase the range on it by quite a bit. Next we've got Weakling Hunt, aka Jump Kick, lunging forward and kicking enemies by hitting Shift and F or while pressing F during a forward jump. The first two ranks of this only knock back, but ranks 3 and 4 will knock down. Then we've got Predatory Hunt. This is basically a big jump that can be cast with the S key and F. Higher ranks increase the amount of times you can jump in a row by up to 4, and this skill does quite a bit of damage in the area around where you land, as well as serves as a gap closer and provides some pseudo iframes while you are jumping. Also, it's really fun to jump on people. Lastly, for mobility, we've got to go over a skill called Lava Pierce. Holding Shift and spacebar while not moving will cause you to break into a fiery sprint forward, running into enemies while dealing damage over this time. Higher ranks increase the speed and distance of it, and it also grants pseudo iframes while being used to make you difficult to CC. It also got Shake Off. It's used by right clicking with A and D and allows you to dash like evasive roll, but instead this does damage to enemies you pass through and costs more stamina. It's important to note that the majority of these mobility skills cannot ignore their cooldowns, but Headbutt has no cooldown, making it the most ideal for simple mobility, while the others are good for their damage and CC components. Now let's briefly talk about the passive, which is just a crit rate at the cost of 3 skill points. And who doesn't love crit? It's a no-brainer to grab this. For the next part, let's jump into Giant's grabs, starting with Smackdown. Just press E to grab an enemy and then smack them down. This isn't doing much in the way of damage, but it is a hard CC, and higher ranks will allow you to smash the target against the ground multiple times. You are also granted super armor during this time. Alternatively, while holding E, you can use Corpse Storm, which will allow you to spin while holding the person instead of slamming them on the ground to deal damage to enemies around you. If you press spacebar while you have them grabbed, however, you can cast Undertaker. causing you to jump in the air and then slam them on the ground. And this component will do massive damage that scales off your maximum HP at max rank. Lastly, Rock Smash, best used by putting on your skill bar, allows you to grab enemies and hold them over your head a bit before you decide what you'd like to do with them. Pressing W will allow you to run with them in your hands. Pressing spacebar will do some WWF pile driver. And pressing left mouse will slam them back down on the ground. Now these grabs are great forms of hard CC in PvP and provide the giant with super armor during their durations. However, they're not so useful in PvE as most hard monsters are not grabbable anyway. So let's look at damage skills now. First, Storming Beast, a large frontal AoE that does okay damage and knocks back. It can be spammed to stomp forward or comboed out of different skills as a knee kick. It is usually good to do so as it reduces the movement, cast, and attack speeds as well as the evasion rates of enemies, 20% at max rank. Then we've got Beastly Wind Slash, used by pressing S key and right click. You will swing forward and downward on enemies in front of you. Adding ranks increase its damage and additional swings. Higher ranks will give it a component to be continuously casts endlessly until you lose all your rage. And it can also be used out of and into evasion. Then we've got Fierce Strike and Claw Scar. Now Fierce Strike is used by pressing right click and will spin enemies around so that their backs face you. Higher ranks increase the damage it deals, and Claw Scar simply adds a bleed component to Fierce Strike so that attacking will leave a bleeding effect on enemies. Next, let's look at Frenzied Destroyer. While auto-attacking, if you hold your S key, you can power up your auto-attacks at the cost of rage. While casting this, if you press both mouse buttons, you will double smash, which at higher ranks will grant you a temporary damage buff. This skill will also pull enemies inward into a small neat little pile for AoEing after several smashes. The ultimate component allows you to hold shift as well to cast multiple large slams, and another component called Quaking Fury will cause the double smash to knock down. Pressing shift and Q will cast our 100% black spirit spender, Fearsome Tyrant. This works as an AoE taunt in PvE and also buffs the armor of the Berserker temporarily. Using energy will increase the AoE damage of the skill. Just Q, Beast Roar, also serves as an AoE taunt in PvE and will apply bleeds to other players in PvP. This can be channeled to maintain enemies' attentions and grant super armor. Both of these taunt skills have long cooldowns, however, that cannot be ignored, so you must use them wisely. Next we've got Wrath of Beast and Ire of Beast. Wrath of Beast is a quick slot only skill from your bar. It has a long cast time and does minor roar damage while swinging, and making you look badass, then dealing a massive blow to enemies that were not smart enough to move away in time. Max rank scaling off your HP. Ire of Beast is comboed out of it to jump on enemies after having knocked them down to deal additional damage. Now last but not least, let's look at the beautiful Raging Thunder. This is more or less the bread and butter of being a Berserker and is your 200% Black Spirit spender. Holding left and right mouse buttons at the same time will cause you to spin to win, just chopping up everything around you and allowing you to move as you do so. It does have a 12-second cooldown that cannot be ignored, but if you hold the spin for its entire duration at max rank, it'll most likely be available again shortly after, and the last strike of the spin will knock down. Higher ranks increase the range of the attack and the spin times up to 20. Now there are a few combo skills that allow different abilities to be used into or out of others, but I won't cover these as it require me to farm like 300 more skill points, and none of them are super important, so let's go into gameplay. Playing a giant in PvE is going to look like this. Sweet! Yep. Just like this. If you've ever wanted to play Garen in an MMO, now's your chance! Giants have by far the least amount of skills in the game, and have the easiest time farming in PvE, while having some great mobility and gap closers in PvP as well as CC. Make no mistake, they are mind-numbing in PvE, but take a lot of mastery in PvP, because if you try to spin to win against another player in a 1v1, they're just gonna laugh at you while they kite you. The great thing about Giants is they are not so heavily gear dependent as say Ninja or Konoichi. You'll only really need a good awakening on your spin to restore HP and you're pretty much set. I'd also recommend starting with these guys at launch to farm up your family's riches fast, as they're up there with wizards and archers with least gear dependency in PvE. For gear, you can go for Yuria and Niels. Accuracy and damage are the only strong argument against Berserkers or Giants is that a lot of players feel that they can get boring or repetitive. But screw those guys, am I right? Man, are these guys satisfying to play. You can slam people around and then chop them up, and screw all that jumpy, magic-y, sissy arrow stuff. Berserkers are the class of men. Just ask Sexy Beast here. He doesn't have a single mobility skill that lets him move backwards, cause he never runs from a fight. Oh yeah. Alright, Warrior and Sword Guide coming up next. I am booping out. Boop.